The Michigan coaching search continues. It's been a very, very whirlwind, memorable type week for Michigan football. I think they're going to end up so much better for this. They're not in a great place right now, but, I mean, once the fog clears, like Michigan will have clearly upgraded at their head coaching position. And it's not the means with which you wanted to do it. This is not necessarily the playbook that you wanted to execute, but it is what it is. And so it is my belief at the outset of this coaching search, Michigan is going to come out a big winner on the other end. Translation, when the dust settles and you've hired your new coach and he gets his staff in there and you've got your roster for 2026, you're going to look at it and say, yep, I'd much rather take this than whatever the alternative was. So there is not a favorite. Well, let me rephrase. I don't think there's a favorite for this job yet. What that doesn't mean is there may not be factions or pockets of people that have their preferred candidate. Of course, everyone has their preferred candidate. Hey, I got a guy or two that I think would be best cut out for this job. I'm sure that members of the Board of Regents, maybe the athletic director there, members of the search firm and the currently being assembled search committee, everybody's got a favorite or two. I don't think there's a consensus favorite for the job because I don't think that's where the search is just yet. I do think, though, they will end up in a much better spot because I think just from the names that have been thrown around that I've heard that have expressed interest, several of them would have been upgrades anyway. That's whether or not there was any off-the-field scandal. Just if the job had, poof, come open, these were going to be upgrades anyway. So the Kalen DeBoer thing, let's start on that first. Kalen DeBoer is a hot candidate for pretty much any head coaching opening. Penn State would have loved to have had Kalen DeBoer. There was little interest there. Michigan would love to have Kalen DeBoer. There's been a lot of debate about whether there's interest there. Now, earlier today, Kalen DeBoer in Alabama released a statement, and he said, my family and I are very happy in Tuscaloosa. We're grateful. President, AD, we're looking forward to playing Oklahoma. Here's the money, quote, I have not spoken with and have no interest in speaking with anyone else about any other job. I'm fully committed to this program and look forward to continuing as the head football coach at the University of Alabama. Now, I tweeted out the water gif Friday, which I usually tweet out when I think big news is coming. I perceived this to be pretty big news. I thought this was coming out on Friday. This had been rumored for a while in conjunction with a new contract, or a contract extension, or a reworked contract for Kalen DeBoer, which I still expect sometime soon. But I think it was smart that they got out ahead of this. Certainly, if you're a believer that Kalen DeBoer was the favorite for the Michigan job, there was nowhere in that statement where he said, hey, I'm not taking the Michigan job. So if that's what you require, you're not getting that from him. And in lieu of that, if you believe that he is still the number one target / the most likely candidate to take that job, I don't know what to tell you, other than to tell you this. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going anywhere. Feel pretty good about our sourcing on that. So you guys are free to believe whatever you want, but I do believe that he'll be at Alabama this Friday and well beyond this Friday, no matter what the outcome of that game is. I hope I've been pretty clear there. Now, as for candidates beyond Kalen DeBoer, Kenny Dillingham's name has been a pretty hot name in this coaching search. There's Pete Nakos via On3, his hot board right there. DeBoer, Lincoln Riley's on there. I don't expect Lincoln Riley to be involved in this search unless something changes. Eli Drinkwitz, I think, is a dark horse name. Jed Fish, absolutely in the equation. Kenny Dillingham is on this list, though. I think Kenny Dillingham is a wonderful candidate for Michigan. That would be the guy that I would pursue. And that's where I need to hit pause. And I got to remind a lot of our Arizona State brethren who have been really, really angry at me suggesting that, because they're suggesting that I'm trying to advocate for him leaving Arizona State. I'm not advocating for anything. I have been asked who I would go after if I were Michigan, or on this show, if we've done these segments, it would be pretty stupid for me to do it and not tell you who I think they should go after. Who I'd go after is Kenny Dillingham, just like I'd go after Kalen DeBoer if I were them. DeBoer's going to tell him no. He already did, and if that wasn't enough, when he actually says N-O to them, when they officially offer him, that'll be the no from DeBoer. Kenny may tell him no, too. I couldn't care less what he tells him. I think it's great when guys like Kenny Dillingham, who have unique ties to a program, in this case Arizona State, when they stay with that program. I think it's wonderful. So I'm not rooting for it one way or the other. I'm telling you, if I'm advocating for the Michigan side of things, that means I'm putting on my Michigan hat for a second. And putting on my Michigan hat means I look at that guy and I see what he's done in terms of quarterback development. I see what he's done in terms of lighting a fan base on fire. I love the energy. I love the passion. I love how much his guys will go over a cliff for him. I love the energy that he would bring. And also, aside from him being a good football coach, because that's first and foremost by 10 miles, hey guys, do me one favor. Check and see if you're subscribed to the channel. If you are, great. If you're not, it's that easy. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It just helps us do the show this way forever. All right, back to the clip. You got to understand what Michigan has had versus what he would bring. Michigan is like an oil field. I've been watching Landman lately. It's like an oil field that really hasn't been drilled properly. Now, that sounds weird because they've won a national championship recently. I'm just telling you from a passion, energy, and resource standpoint, in the new age, no one's really drilled deep at Michigan yet. When you do, money's flying all over the place. It's there. It's there. I've got it on good word. A little birdie has flown in my ear recently and told me, maybe since the Sharon Moore firing, there's a little bit of an uptick even in NIL contribution. They are primed from an NIL contribution standpoint, from a donor energy and engagement standpoint, to where anybody, but especially a guy as dynamic as that, if they get dropped in that seat, it's no guarantee from a records perspective. I just think it's a home run. And I really hate saying that. So I just think it would be very successful. Let me put it that way. So anyway, that's how I would feel if I were Michigan. If I were Arizona State, I would be rooting for him to stay there. I am neither. In fact, I prefer that guys stay at a job a long time. But, that's not the spirit of the segment. The spirit of the segment, or the spirit of me doing a radio hit in Detroit, and they ask who should Michigan go after, is to just tell you who I would go after if I were Michigan. So here's where I think that stands, by the way. Kenny yesterday, as we're talking, this is Sunday, Saturday they had practice. He comes off the practice field. He talked about a few things. He talked about how much he loves Arizona State, which is obviously accurate. He talked about how much he'd love to be there, which is 100% accurate. He said Michigan has not contacted him whatsoever. He has not spoken with anyone at Michigan. I can tell you that's 100% accurate. And that was about it. And they've been working on a contract extension for him, and that's been going on for several weeks now. So everything he said yesterday, as far as I know, 100% true. That doesn't mean that anything is over, done with. At least I wouldn't perceive it that way. From the outside looking in, I wouldn't perceive it that way. This is the Michigan job, guys. It's the Michigan job. I don't know what else to tell you. Pretty much everyone's going to listen. Outside of like Ryan Day, I'm going to go ahead and, in fact, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to rule Ryan Day out for Michigan, and that's breaking on this show. So anyone reporting that, please source us properly. Ryan Day is not a candidate for the Michigan job. I'm pretty sure Kirby's happy at Georgia, things of this nature. Other than that, I'd be nervous. This is a little euphemism here, but I'd be nervous if my candidate had not said no or signed an extension and the Michigan job are still open. This is a very coveted job. It is a primed opportunity. It's an elite opportunity. It's elite resources, and it just so happens to have come open when it came open. I think that right now, the status of that search is it's in the search firm stages, and the search firm is basically identifying and vetting and accumulating information, and then that information is handed over to a committee. Like, this is going way differently than the Penn State search, where it was pretty much Pat Kraft. So they're going search firm, I believe, over to a search committee, and there's a rush, but there's not a hurried rush. You want to get it right. However long it takes to get it right, not a second longer. So I think the wheels will be put in motion. It would not surprise me at all if they still waited until after Friday. And if Bama gets eliminated Friday, force Kalen DeBoer to say no, I believe he will, and then move on. That could be their strategy. Or they could get pretty strong feedback that, hey, man, no means no. Like, he's locked in this week. And maybe they move on this week. Maybe DeBoer and Alabama go on to win the national championship, and it's a moot point either way. But, yeah, Here's what I'll say. I said it over on the Michigan on 3 board earlier today, and I will say it again. I know it seems like, the whole Kenny Dillingham, Kalen DeBoer thing, they just kind of look similar. It's just a couple of, hey, I'm happy where I'm at. I don't think those were the same thing. That's what I'll say.